Folks, our latest sponsor, QUANT Wrestling, QUANT, just released their predictions for the 2022 NCAA tournament. Check them out now on QUANT Wrestling, which you can download through the App Store. Get your first month free using the discount code WCML.
You cannot be around these guys for longer than 30 minutes and not realize why you would be motivated around them and why you would want to push yourself further than what you thought you could.
We can endure anything and adapt and pivot and change. Wrestling gave us that ability.
I would say nothing in life has impacted me more than the things wrestling has taught me in terms of self-reflection, resilience.
Toughness. Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Adversity, 100%. How to pick myself up and be a man after I failed.
And everything that has shaped my life and where I'm at today would not be there without the values and basically the lessons I've learned through the sport of wrestling.
For me, wrestling saved my life because it allowed me to focus and channel my energy.
We're fortunate if you wrestled, because if you wrestled, natural talent helps, but it's 5% of the ingredient. It pales in comparison to heart and technique and effort.
It humbled me, taught me humility. Nothing can humble you more than wrestling. I think it's the learning to adapt, right? You learn how to adapt, you learn how to solve problems.
You know, if I look back at my time I spent wrestling, if it gave me one thing more than anything else, it's mental toughness.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to Wrestling Changed My Life. This is your host, Ryan Warner. This episode is presented by QUANT Wrestling. Download the QUANT app now in the Apple App Store, QUANT, QUANT Wrestling. Folks, our guest today is the great Dan Dennis, an Illinois legend, an NCAA runner-up for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and a 2016 Olympian. Today, Dan is the head coach for the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. This interview was recorded at Carver Hawkeye Arena and is part of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club podcast. To view the full video episode, go to HawkeyeWrestling.com and join the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is a monthly recurring fee where members can donate to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. All funds go to support Hawkeye Wrestling Club athletes. So, video version is on HawkeyeWrestlingClub.com, and the audio version is available right here. So, I hope you enjoy it. Dan Dennis, head coach of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. Fan of the week goes to our friend Damian Puma, as well as his father, David Puma. Both Damian and his dad, David, listened to the podcast on the reg and called me last week to let me know about it. So thank you so much for calling. Appreciate the support as always. And without further ado, let's give it up for the great Dan Dennis. Peace! So Dan, I was looking through the rabbit hole in your career over the past week. I just find the parallels between you and Terry both going to Tennessee, then coming back here interesting.
Yeah.
What was the when was the day you got the call to come back to Iowa City?
It was kind of weird. I always keep up with our program. When I was living in California, I keep up with what's going on here, who's in the lineup, what's, the changes, anything exciting. And when Perry and Gilman and all the girls took off, it was like, geez, what's going on? I hadn't checked in a while, and I've always had a great relationship with Tom and Terry. I just called Tom up and was like, hey, what's going on? Who are you guys bringing in? Like, what's just trying to get an update. And it was real natural, real organic, as cheesy as that sounds, but it was calling just to check in, see what was going on, and kind of get the inside scoop from, my connections. And
yeah.
Then it was Tom, well, let's talk about who's going to be the next wrestling HWC coach. And I thought it would be a handful of other people, and Tom showed interest in me, and immediately it's like, heck yeah.
How's it going, Morningstar? Good. We can cut that out. All good.
Immediately it was like, absolutely, I'm interested. I mean, when I was gone, I've never left on bad terms, and was always a big fan, and just wanting to be a part of, in some involvement way. When I was in California, I would drive through and would wrestle with the guys for a little bit, and just my heart's here, and the relationships here. This is an area like nowhere else in wrestling. And when he brought up, me maybe possibly coming back and coaching, it was like, yeah, what can I do?
Wow.
And I loved it in Tennessee. It was awesome. I loved our guys down there, but there's nothing like this place, like this culture, this environment, second to none.
In this team we're talking about right now,
it's wicked.
Skill level. So people throw around a lot. Spencer Lee is maybe the best Hawkeye ever, maybe the best college wrestler ever. You're an Olympian, so you know high-level wrestling. How elite is Spencer Lee compared to just the average elite wrestler?
He's something special. There is something with him, and you can't put your finger on it even until you wrestle him, and then you still can't put your finger on it because it's like what he does. It's nothing crazy flashy. He has some of that stuff and some of the scrambling, but just the pressure he has, and he's relentless in all areas. So I've been around some really high level wrestlers, and the ability that this kid has is got to be at the top.
Is it his grip strength? I mean, what is the feel he brings?
It's everything. It's everything. So we all know that he was out with the ACL after Big Tens going into nationals, and he was off the mat from the Big Tens until nationals, up until it was either 2 days before or 3 days before he was leaving for nationals. And Tom had him just jump on me and just execute some holds on top. Nothing on our feet, just drilling turns on top. And then Tom walked by 5 minutes later and he's like, all right, Dennis, now make him work to get your wrists. And I start picking it up, and it didn't look like I changed a thing. It didn't. It looked like he was just drilling on me. And then 2, 3, 4 minutes later, Tom's walked by again. Hey, make him really work hard for those wrists. Don't give up your wrists now. And I start picking up more on bottom, and it didn't look like I changed a thing. And then finally Tom walked by and he's like, hey, Dennis, I want you going live now on bottom. Don't let him get your wrist. And there was visually probably no change from the first time he started executing until it's unbelievable. And the only way I can describe it has to be what Gable felt like in his prime. I mean, we all know Gable, how he was a bear on top. Right. I remember when I came in, Gable was old, he was really old, and he would still jump on some guys. And I remember Charlie Falk, he was our 25-pounder one time for a while, and Gable jumped on Falk, and I remember talking with Falk after, and he's like, I can't wiggle my big toe when Gable's on top of me. And that has to be what Spencer feels like. That's the only way I can try to associate it. But it's unbelievable because it's just wrist ties. It's wrist ties, but it feels like Ryan Morningstar's on top of me. It's just a bear.
Yeah. So
I don't know how to explain it. He just has that in him.
Dude, and like his personality, the way he's able to carry himself off the mat, so easy. I don't want to say easy going lightly, but everyone loves the guy. He's very affable.
Sweetheart.
Yeah, sweetheart.
He's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. And that's the thing. I forget who I was telling this to. It's like when you're wrestling him, he'll be taking you down, and you'll almost giggle sometimes because it's like he's so slick and he's so nonchalant about it, and it's not like a bear, like you're just overwhelmed physically. It's just like, how did you get there, and how am I going down now? And you just can't help but kind of scratch your head as he's taking you down. It really is something unique, special.
You took him to the Olympics as your training partner?
Yeah.
I did not know that until like literally 24 hours ago. Was he here at the time?
No, he was still in high school, and I had wrestled with him a handful of times at the OTC. And wow.
So a high schooler going to as a training partner.
And that had to be recruited. That was not. It was the best feel and the best person for me to bring. Yeah. His international feel. I mean, he had more experience at that time than probably anybody in the country around my weight. As silly as that sounds, age group wise. And I remember he beat me in a match at our training camp probably a week before I competed. And it's like this high schooler, and we wrestled again later. And it's like he's at that level right now as a junior, senior in high school. He was competing with, high level Division I All-Americans in high school, which is unheard of.
Unreal.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you think about some of the studs back in our era, one that comes to mind, your high school teammate, Jimmy Kennedy, was a walking god in the Illinois circles. But you see these kids now coming in, they're ready to go, like the Gable Stevensons of the world. Spencer Lee's coming in right away.
Yeah.
What about DeSanto? What kind of feel does he bring as opposed to Lee?
Very, very different. Very different. Equally as capable. I really do believe that DeSanto does some freaky things. He if he can get out of his own way a little bit, and I'm not talking bad at all, his potential is it's crazy. Yeah. It really is high. His pace, I mean, everyone knows him for his pace, and that's relentless, and it's hard to stay in and wrestle with. But outside that, his scrambling ability, some of the things he does, watch him warm up, and he'll do some things where it's like, wow, that kid's athletic. He really is. He's got to bring it all together. A little bit more consistent, but I mean, equally as excited for him to get on the international scene.
It's such a nightmare weight in a good way.
Yeah.
133 this year. Michik, Fix, DeSanto, RBY. I mean, there's just so many hammers. It's always been a great weight. Yeah. That's why it breaks my heart that it's not an Olympic weight.
Yeah.
It's crazy how deep we are there in the U.S., and obviously DeSanto will be right there in the mix of it.
Yeah, I think so too.
So you go back to your early days here at Iowa. You're one of the few. I guess Morningstar also came in with Zaleski, and you guys stayed through. When you got the call from, I think it was Steiner maybe at the time, or I don't know, Hartung, were you looking at Iowa before that as a high school senior?
No. I was different through high school, and I wasn't certain I wanted to wrestle Division I. I went on a recruiting visit to Northern Illinois, and then I went to Iowa, and then I canceled all the other ones, but I was set up to go to a Division II school up in Wisconsin, and then Central Michigan, I believe it was.
Okay.
And as soon as I came here, it was like sold. There's nothing like it. Walk down through this tunnel and be a senior in high school. I can compete in front of this, and it's not a bluff where it's like we got a big arena and you get 2,000 fans there, or 1,500 fans. I mean, we pack the house, and it's our fan base is like nowhere else. So when you start telling a senior in high school that this is your future and competing in front of, it's like, yeah. Okay.
Pretty amazing. I mean, you might be the only recruit that looked at Northern Illinois and Iowa as the two schools. Usually it's like, like a Power 5 or something. But, I mean, you were a 2-time runner-up. People made snuff at that, but you got to remember Illinois back in our heyday.
It was
Double
tough.
A, baby.
It was tough.
24-man bracket.
Yep.
No true wrestlebacks.
No.
So it was nasty.
It
and those
was.
guys at the weights, I mean, your senior year, I was looking at it, Jan in the quarters. He went on to wrestle, or was it John?
Yeah,
Kyle John.
I wrestled him in the finals my junior year. I lost to him, and then he went on and did pretty well. I think different Division II or Division III, but he was really tough. Yeah, really tough wrestler. And then Kenny Jordan, as we were talking about earlier, I lost to my senior year. Went to Nebraska, and he was tough as nails as well.
And one of your teammates, we mentioned him earlier, Jimmy Kennedy, you wrestled a lot in college. What were your high school scraps like in the practice room?
We didn't wrestle a ton. He used to beat the daylights out of me. Jimmy, like you said, he was a walking god in Illinois, and he was, through age group when he was younger. He was going to Tulsa and winning all those tournaments. I was a seasonal wrestler, probably at youth, up until my freshman year of high school, where my high school coach kind of really took me under his wing and helped me along. But I was kind of a seasonal wrestler, so Jimmy used to beat up on me. There's quite a few of them.
What was the turning point in high school for you?
I think just getting committed and in high school, and I mean, just dedicating myself. I mean, we lifted all summer long. My high school coach was awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better high school coach. He was absolutely amazing. And we had multiple of them. It wasn't just one. We had a really good coaching staff. And I think just throughout high school and getting stronger, and I mean, just living in the wrestling room helped me, catch Jimmy a little bit. But we had a tough team.
Yeah, Joe Barzak, I remember as well.
Yep.
So.
John Deneen, another one who wrestled at Illinois. And then we had some kids that didn't even go on and wrestle college that were just tough as nails. just scrappy. The area we're from, we got some tough kids.
For sure. And then you get here, dude, not even like 4 months later, you're wrestling in the Iowa State duel.
Yeah.
And you got to win in that duel as a true freshman. Did you know you were going to start as a freshman?
No, but kind of whatever coaching staff thought. My parents weren't super involved on like, we got a red shirt and then go into this. And my parents were just kind of supportive. They didn't really make many calls at all. And when I got in and being able to scrap with the guys in the room and doing good, it might not have been the best thing for me, but at the time it was all on board and excited for it. It was a growing year. I had a rough season that year. And
you ended up, I just love I'm sure it was a low moment at the time, 0-2 at the Big Tens. Like that was 06 maybe. Mm-hmm. Dude, 10 years later you're at the Olympics. It's just, I love the journey to get there, and all the learnings you developed along the way. So where were you at when you heard that Tommy Brands was coming from Virginia Tech and taking over the helm?
Well, I remember our coaches all got replaced, got fired at the end of the season. And I didn't know, the Brands brothers, the all-stars through Iowa wrestling, but I didn't have any real knowledge of like in depth who they were as people. And then from minute one on campus, it was like, these guys are awesome. These guys are awesome.
Was there a big buzz right away?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Getting those guys back was huge.
And was there a long week? It was like a week or 2 weeks between when the old regime was let go and Tom was brought in, or was it like right away in your mind?
I think it was pretty quick. It was probably a week or so, but it wasn't a month. Right. But it wasn't immediate. Like these coaches are out and these are in. It wasn't that quick, but it was pretty timely fashion.
I saw an interview that Morningstar did. I think you were in it, where the old, all the Virginia Tech guys get here, and obviously you were battling Slayton, but you guys go camping at like the World Team Trials or something. Yeah, What's that story?
Oh, it was just a clash of two teams coming together, and those guys were awesome. They're absolutely awesome. And Joey, he was my competition at the weight, but Joey was a really good friend. It's weird how that worked, but he's freaking awesome. One of the toughest guys you'll ever wrestle.
He looks so
just
scary.
gritty,
so
and
scary.
tough as nails.
Yeah, he was a bulldog, man.
He was.
Jeez.
He was.
And so 08, he gets second, and at this point, you're like newly committed with Tom Brands. You're in the thick of it. Are you guys battling throughout the year? Or like what happened in 08 when he ended up getting second? Was he the guy most of it, or?
Yeah. He was a guy all of it. He was a guy all of it. He did an amazing job. That was 08.
Yeah.
I think I broke my jaw that year as well. So I was out for one season. I split my jaw the day before wrestle-offs, actually. Okay. So I was out. He was probably more mature and ready to take over that spot and dominate it the way he did, and he did. He was ranked high, and he was in contention to win national title.
Shit, he lost to an Olympic bronze medalist, right? It's like, dang.
Yeah,
he was on the level.
He is.
And I've heard you say that like once Tom got here, your level of what you thought you were possible of just went through the roof. Like you've never been pushed like that and never made the gains you made like that. What are some of the more memorable like workouts with Coach Brands in that first year that really made you realize like, dude, I'm not even close to where I thought I could be?
I got a lot of memories. Some probably shouldn't be out in the public. The thing is, he demands what you're capable of. And when you're young and you think you're capable of something that's not even close, like I had a lot of confidence issues or competition issues too, not competing the way I probably should have. And the workouts that they put you through and then the way they talk to you after is it's motivating. You cannot be around these guys for longer than 30 minutes and not realize why you would be motivated around them and why you would want to push yourself further than what you thought you could. I remember workouts with the one I'm thinking of with Terry, actually, I remember a workout with Ryan Morningstar, and he was 65 pounder and I was a 33 pounder. And it was a summer workout, and it was Ryan starting extended in on a single, and I'm completely sprawled off of him, like buckled at the knees, almost in a front headlock, except he's locked on a leg, and go. And Ryan would suck me up, take me down 5 to 15 seconds, however long I could fight, and then break back in there. And it didn't end. It didn't seem like it ended.
How long you think?
In my head, it was a 2-hour workout, but it was probably an hour plus.
Of just that situation.
We got warm, drilled a little bit, and then got in there and did that for probably 45 minutes is what I would guess.
Yeah.
But I got off of one shot that whole workout, and I just remember like, what the heck, having my head down, kind of sulking. And then immediately, it wasn't that week because I think that was later on in the week, but it was the next week I was wrestling, and some guys my size would be in on my leg, and it was like, you're not going anywhere. And that was kind of an immediate, pretty quick turnaround on seeing results. But I mean, Tom, I remember him coming in and us having a 45-minute, or I don't know how long it was, but it was a very, very long hand fighting go. And it was just a workout. We got warm in a workout, and then he said, all right, get ready for a long hand fighting go. Long hand fighting go coming up. And when he says long, it's because when he says short, it can be long.
Right.
So when he says regular length, it's like, that's going to be long. When he says long, it's like, how long is this? And it was just physical. It was a physical workout that you didn't want to keep going, but you sure didn't want Tom calling you out for not wrestling hard enough.
Would you be surprised if it was more than 30 minutes?
Oh, not at all. It was a long workout. And ask Morningstar or ask Tom. He probably doesn't even remember because he's been through so many workouts like that. But just the intensity that he brings is it's like nowhere else I've ever been.
And it's crazy because you were around so many wrestling figures growing up, and even the prior regime, they were great coaches. They did a great job.
Yeah.
But it's just the level they demand is so high.
And the thing is, they don't let things slip either. If you're holding back at all, like, hey, let's get out of you, let's go. And they'll call you out on holding back.
Yeah.
And that's where it's your job to respond as an athlete. And I think that, that's the best thing you can do is just focus on what they're saying. And they're not yelling at you. They're not barking at you to not do right by you. That's the only reason you're ever getting barked at, is because they see the potential that they want to get out of you.
Right.
And that's huge. That's huge.
The thing to me that they never had a problem with, that a lot of people struggle with, is like limiting beliefs. They don't have any limiting beliefs. Like they don't, like earlier I was asking Tom, he was sitting right there. I go, you guys raised $25 million. That's amazing. He's like, why is that amazing? In my mind, it was. I'm like, $25 million is a shitload of money.
It's a lot of money.
And those guys, their bar's so high, it's not to them.
And whatever it takes is what we're going to accomplish. If it was $50 million, Tom would be out right now, right? Whatever it was. If it was whatever the number is, it's not. That's a lot. That's big. That's what I got to go do.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no like emotion behind it. There's no feeling good, patting yourself on the back. Maybe there is when it's all said and done, but you don't see too much of that.
No.
So
all business.
It is. It really is.
And it's just, there's no lack in motivation, ever a down moment.
And that's exactly what I was saying earlier. You're around those guys for more than 30 minutes and you will see why they're probably the most motivated people I've ever been around, without the cheesy cliche wake up and that type of cheese ball motivation. It's real. It is real. They come up, wake up with a purpose, and they demand it out of the people they're around.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it's evident. The building we're in now has seen a national title in 2020, and this year we're coming back. Fans in the building. I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. So many good duels on the docket this year. But before we get there, let's go back to one of the breakthrough tournaments for you was the Senior University Nationals 08.
Okay.
Do you remember this tournament?
Mm-hmm.
In an interview, you said, you're like, I went into the thing terrified to death. And now that you mentioned you had some self-doubt issues before you wrestled, is that a true statement? Because you had the Gomez, the Surtis.
Well, this probably shouldn't be said. I do remember that tournament. I was hurting through that tournament. I got a real bad back, and had a lot going on at that tournament, and I remember just trying to get off the mat as soon as possible. And I'm one of those guys, I have nerves, pretty bad nerves, but when the whistle blows, I do a really good job at just kind of zoning in to what's going on. So I leading up to it, I might be a little nervous and like a little shaky and a little nervous, a little nervous, scared, whatever you want to put it. But when the whistle blows, I do a pretty good job at focusing at the task at hand. But I remember there was true second at that tournament, and Gomez had beaten Surtis, and Surtis is one of those guys. He used to play with me. I can count on one hand how many takedowns I've gotten on him in 4 years. The guy's an absolute freak of nature, and I give him a lot of credit. He used to help me out a lot. I remember coming in with him, and just he was a technical wizard and working through positions and just hitting holds, and I felt like that really helped my wrestling. But Alex lost to Gomez, and I remember someone telling me it's true second, and I was like, well, so if I lose and Surtis will wrestle me. It's like, oh gosh, I gotta get off I gotta win. And that was in the finals, and luckily I beat Franklin in 2 periods. It was best of 3 periods back then, I think it was. But good tournament. But where I'm good is where I'll stay in matches a lot. And I remember just getting on top of guys and was like, I'm going to get off the mat. I'm going to get out of this period and just putting a lot of energy on turns and just wrestling stingy and doing pretty good that tournament.
Surtis is a name that you don't often remember, but he came out, I mean, a lot of you probably do, but man, there's been so many great names, but dude, that's a name. He came in undefeated in high school. He was so good. He
was a freak. And then his true freshman year when he started, he had overtime matches with the number 1 ranked guy. It was Gallic at the time. Okay. And he was always right there. And he was one of the most talented wrestlers I've ever wrestled with. He used to beat the daylights out of me. Bad. I mean, bad.
Well, when you got here, you had some great RTC guys too, right?
Yep.
Freyer, Zadek.
Freyer wasn't in the club when I first got here. He came on staff. I think he was strength and conditioning for a little bit. Zadek, Cliff Moore was actually here my first year. Cliff Moore was tough as nails. He is tough as nails. Great guy. Learned a lot from him. Our club was good. Eustace was in the club at the time. Mike Zadek was in the club. Doug Schwab, he used to beat the daylights out of me. We had some killers.
Did you pick up the elbow from Zadek? The elbow to the knee?
Yeah, that little raker shot.
Yeah. I was like, I was looking back at the rosters. I'm like, when was Zadek here? And when did he leave? But there was some overlap. It sounded like.
Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, I just love all the different generations. And Freyer, that's a guy who, took out one of Iowa's guys, Metcalf. But he was such a funky wrestler.
He was a really funky wrestler. You don't see a lot of
non-Iowa guys around that often.
No, not a ton, but he fit in good at the time, and I learned a lot from him. He was awesome to have.
Yeah, I mean, just a crazy style. How do you think about that 2010 team where you were a senior, Morningstar was there, versus the guys now? There's a lot of comparisons going on, just because they were so dominant.
Yeah, we had a good team. We had a really good team. I said this in some other interview. I remember we shut out the whole state of Michigan.
So I heard you say that. What do you mean by that?
In the dual meets, we wrestled Michigan and we shut them out. And then we wrestled Central Michigan. I believe we shut them out as well. And then at Midlands, every matchup we had with any of the Michigan school, we won all those matches. I mean, we had some savages on our team. I mean, Metcalf, Borschel, Keddy, Erickson, Beatty, McDonough, Montel Marion. Like we had Metcalf. We had some good wrestlers.
And Slayton, who could have been in that 41.
Yeah.
Slayton versus Dake would have been a lot of fun.
I think Joey can compete with anyone. He's a freak. I would have loved to have seen him wrestle that year.
Yeah. Now, when you were in any Iowa wrestler for that matter, you got the 3:00 afternoon practice. Is the stuff you're doing in the morning, is that on Dan Dennis's schedule and you just think you need to do it, or is that an organized plan of attack?
My freshman year, you get like strength and conditioning and just kind of get in the groove of what the expectations are on a team like this. So we had morning lift my freshman year, starting into season, and then it's just kind of the precedent set on, hey, how's your weight? Is it something you need to be working on? Well, then come in the morning. How's your shape? How's your drill? How's your technique? How's your high crotch? How's your bottom position? How's your front headlock? If you need work on it, come in, do it on your own. That's one thing that our coaches preach a lot is independent work. And that's where if you listen to them, you can make a lot of headway on your own, just coming in, line someone up and or have a coach put you through. So I think it was just kind of normal at that point.
The 2-a-days or not
every day, but coming in throughout the week and just maintaining your body, whether it's strength, whether it's cardio, whether you need to work on technique, whatever that is, just adding to your wrestling. There's not a day that goes by that you shouldn't be sharpening some part of your wrestling, you know?
And you mentioned, how is your weight? One of the guys on your team who I think about that question being asked to a lot, McDonough, because at one point they were looking at him going 41.
Yeah.
And I've had him on my podcast, and I love talking to him about just that team in that era. But like, were you shocked to see that he was going on to 25?
I kind of live in my own little bubble. Don't pay attention to too much around me. I knew he came in as a 33, 41 pounder, kind of either or. And then he probably would have been a 33 pounder. And he did a very selfless thing on what was best for the team and what was ultimately best for him, but he had to make a choice, and it wasn't an easy choice. I mean, he cut a lot of weight, and he did a good job doing it.
He said he started in like the summer at some point.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean. He was a committed, dedicated. He didn't come in at preseason and be 20 over. I mean, he was working on it on, middle of summer, start leaning his body out, and he had a big frame that could have went up, and it just turned out that it was best for our team, and it was best for him too, I believe, in the long run.
How often were you guys working out back then?
Pretty good amount. We bounce around a lot. He was scrappy, man. He is scrappy. There's no was. He is. I mean, you watch him wrestle. He's he's relentless. He's a little DeSanto,
He really is. And there's like, it's just that lightweight has always seemed to carry through. But then now you look at Iowa's upper weights. I mean, man, Kemmerer. I mean, how good can you get? It's like,
Kemmerer is a freak. Kemmerer is so good. He's one of those guys. We got to keep him healthy, keep him feeling good. He can wrestle with. I mean, him and Lee are from the same club, right? Yeah. He has a lot of those tricks, and he has his technical wrestling IQ is crazy high. It really is. He's a phenomenal wrestler. So
he was one of the first ones as part of the new class, right?
Yeah. Well, and he came in as a 49 pounder. I used to wrestle with Kemmerer quite a bit. So his first year, his redshirt freshman year, he was a 49 pounder.
During your Olympic comeback, that's how far back. So he's been around that long.
He's been around that long. This is his 7th year in college. He was one of those guys. The first time we wrestled, there was something. I do good wrestling with big guys. I just a matchup or whatever. Well, I usually can stay in there with bigger guys and give them fits and compete with them a little bit. He was one of those guys. He would just pick me apart right away. It was like when he gets his hands locked, it's a conveyor belt. You can't get your hips back. He's very, very good wrestler. He was one of those guys from his true freshman year. It's like, all right, I'll grab this young pup.
Yeah.
And then you grab the young pup that just put a whooping on you, and you're like, geez almighty, that kid's good.
Yeah, he's got that back. It looks so
It's
strong.
huge. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks big. Good to know it translates.
It does.
It looks ridiculous.
And you can't stop it when it gets locked and starts pulling your legs in. He's a good wrestler.
Does he bring a different feel from Marinelli?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a little bit like Lee in the sense where he's disappearing on you. I mean, he'll hand fight and he can stay in a hand fight, but then you go to wind up on a club and he's underneath you and already starting to finish, and it's like, where did you go?
Right.
How do you move that good for a big guy, especially now up at 74?
Crazy.
It is crazy. It's nuts. So
and Marinelli is more of a brawler. Would
Marinelli, yeah. You watch him wrestle. I mean, his hands are bricks. I mean, they're heavy, and he doesn't stop using them. He's relentless.
It's just, look at this lineup. It's unbelievable. I mean, we'll look back now as Hawkeye fans years from now, and in this class it's been together, obviously has really been a chapter in Iowa wrestling on its own.
Yeah.
You know, as was your class, and as was Coach Brand's class of 91, 92. You look back at those lineups, that's ridiculous too. You know, Zapito, both Brands, both Steiners, Tom Ryan, Mark Ryland.
That's a rough draw.
Crazy.
That is.
And you think about back then, they had a little bit of Penn State as a rival, a lot of Oklahoma State as a rival. Now, obviously, it's Iowa, Penn State, Oklahoma State, very dominant still. When you look at Iowa versus in those two rivalries, Penn State and Okie State, how has it changed and evolved since you were here?
So when I was in school, Penn State was starting to come up, but they weren't that dominant. Oklahoma State was always, I mean, going down to Oklahoma State's fun to wrestle into. Their fans are similar to ours. Similar, I won't say the same. There's nothing like ours. But they get rowdy and they get loud and they get in your ear and they like skating on the edge of the mat and they like talking crap, and it's so that one probably stands out a little bit more than Penn State for sure. And it was always fun going down there, but it's just shifting, right?
Yeah.
It just shifts from one program to another. So,
and being a wrestling fan and a wrestling coach as you are, fan's an understatement, but a wrestling, connoisseur, when you look at Penn State, what they've done over 10 years, what sticks out there? I mean, or what do you think enables the success?
I have no idea. They do a good rivalry. Yeah, they do a good job peaking their guys. Their program, I mean, the past 10 years, you got to respect what they've done. I mean, they've done a really good job at, kind of dominating college wrestling a little bit. They do a really good job at peaking their guys and developing their guys, I think, and they got some freak athletes there. They do, but I like where we're at.
I mean, really, I'm chalking up 20 as the title for Iowa, 21 as the title for Iowa. So this is the showdown. This is the bake-off this year coming up. Can't wait for the Carver into January.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. And then Oklahoma State's at the Ranger Stadium.
Yep. Yeah,
and
that'll be
Iran,
cool.
USA are going to wrestle.
Yep.
After that. So do you follow the international scene outside of the Hawkeye Club guys?
Yeah. I mean, Flo does such a good job at making everything accessible, right? But you kind of always, guys in our club, who do we have to compete with? Where are they looking good? Where do we need to work? Where do just kind of using that as a little bit of a measuring stick.
Yeah.
So we got our work ahead of us.
It's going to be fun, man.
It is.
USA Wrestling, obviously, maybe early 90s was as good, but right now maybe better than then.
Yeah.
In the Hawkeye Club, moving forward, I'm sure is going to be a big part of the international scene. Once the college season's done, how do you work with those guys on like a planning and tournament schedule? Is it individual or is it a group effort?
It a little bit of both, I think. Tom is one of the most thoughtful people I've ever been around for what does this individual athlete need. And Terry, our whole coaching staff, just judge. It's not a blanket. This is what everybody has to do getting into the club or should be doing. It's, well, where's this guy need to get better? Should we really be going and competing, or do we need to be working, developing in this area? Or is it go over for a little training camp for 2 weeks and, pick up some of these tricks and get some experience, and then we'll enter them in a tournament, whatever that may be. We're low on numbers right now, but after next year, we're going to be adding, 5 to 10 guys into the club. So
it's funny, so many RTCs are like, yeah, we're trying to pick up a stud, we're trying to pick up a guy here or there. It's like,
we're going to be reloading it pretty good. We'll be sitting all right.
A windfall signing as soon as the season's done.
We will.
It's like, God, it's going to be so deep again. It's going to be awesome because, everyone remembers the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, the original RTC, 1973.
Yep.
Been putting out Olympians forever. And so it was a little weird to see 2021. I think Sammy Brooks was there, but everyone knew you guys had all your studs waiting in the wings. And then after this season, they'll be attacking the international scene. So we're excited about that. Yeah. What are you thinking about the facility? How amazing is this?
It's going to be
the design
awesome.
of this thing. Have you seen any of the blueprints for it?
I've seen a couple of them, and I know that they changed quite a bit, and that's outside of my, area.
Right.
But I've seen blueprints of it and hear talk about it all the time, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a pretty unique facility.
It's crazy because whenever, we would come here to Carver, even as like a middle schooler, to watch a dual meet, we got free tickets to come down and see the Iowa room. Then it seemed like
it's so cool.
Right.
It's larger than life, right?
Even though now it's like, we want natural light, like this, that, that didn't matter. You just saw the Hawkeye room and it was like, you couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
Like, the mats were so soft. It was so hot in there.
Yep.
But now it's just like cool that pretty soon this whole new generation is going to be starting in a new facility.
Yeah.
People won't even know this place
anymore.
No.
Take your video now. It's going to be going away soon.
The amount of battles that have taken place in there is stunning.
Wild.
And when you look at Coach Brands, he obviously has sustained success with Terry and a number of assistants. But the one example I like to point to that shows like how unique of a coach he is the year Metcalf and Perry won. Do you think there's any two guys more different than Brent Metcalf and Mark Perry?
No, and that right there is why I stand my ground, and this is one of the points I make when I argue that Tom is one of the best coaches. You can't coach polar opposites like that and get the most out of them without being so in tune with your athlete's needs. And if you can coach Mark Perry and get that much out of him, and then coach Brent Metcalf, who are polar opposite wrestlers, stylistically, positions that they wrestle, pretty much through and through, that is an impressive coach right there that can manage both of those at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to be a part of. I was on the bench that year, but I remember. That was in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember being down there, and it was awesome to watch. It was really cool.
So when you're at an event like that as a non-starter, are you in the tunnel warming guys up, or are you taking it in as a fan?
I don't think that they were allowing us down. It's pretty tight access at the national tournament. If you're not a training partner on the list, you're pretty much just in the stands watching. And I don't think I was down. I was still pretty young. I think that was my second year.
Okay.
I think it might have been my third year because I was Metcalf's first year back, right?
06, 07, 08, 9, 10. So
yeah.
8 was your third year.
Yeah, I think it was 08.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So was Gable here that year? Was that the year he was coaching?
Yeah. I think so.
People forget about that.
Yeah, he came back for 1 year.
I love the picture of Gable and Kale on the mat going head to head.
Yeah.
And Gable's like 50 or
pointing
60.
his finger at him or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Was he involved a lot or?
Yeah, he was Gable's awesome. I mean, he's a living legend, right?
Yeah.
You know.
One of the coolest just like people persons you'll ever hang out with. And really now I'm getting to know Tom a little bit. He's like that too. People just didn't know that.
Yeah. He is. There's a lot to Tom. There's a whole lot to Tom, but it's hard to see past, his interviews and how tough he is.
So tough.
He is. And he has that standard, so it's hard to kind of see past that and give him a personality other than that,
Well, one of the questions we got from the Inner Circle members coming into this interview was, was Tom still wrestling guys when you were back in college?
Yes.
And
Tom would make guys cry.
So he was going that.
Tom and Terry, both of them, would beat the tar out of all of us, whoever they wrestled, whether it was me, McDonough, Surtis, Montel, Metcalf, it didn't matter who. those guys would beat the crap out of all of us, and they were 40-something years old. You know, they would put the shoes on and they would just mop the mats with us.
Yeah, if that was 2010, he won in 96, so that'd be like you wrestling in 2040.
Yeah.
At a high level.
No way. That's not happening.
And so, that was just, they just didn't know if he was still wrestling in the 2010 era.
Well, it was, they were. I remember watching Tom grabbing Ramos and Terry grabbing McDonough and just being like, these are two kids favored to win nationals. Tom and Terry were just beating up on us.
They probably didn't get out, didn't
No, it wasn't competitive. It was very one-sided.
It's crazy because Tom will say to this day, like, he never got the best of Randy Lewis. So, like, it just always, there's that trickle down of hierarchy.
Well, I can think of quite a few people who have never gotten the best of Tom Brandt.
Oh, yeah, I can't even imagine how big that list is.
Yeah.
Well, now that you're back here, you know, Iowa City, wrestling, I think it's Wrestling Capital USA is what I'm supposed to be saying.
It is.
That's the new slogan. But I just want to wind down with, Iowa just announced women's wrestling.
Yep.
Maybe the biggest announcement in the past 15, 20 years in terms of the long-term impact. Just what are your thoughts on it? I mean, I'm sure you knew it was coming, but...
Yeah. I mean, you kind of know what direction it's going as a whole sport, and our coaches they're open-minded and they want to do what's best for our program. And we got to be front runners with women wrestling. It's only a matter of time. Why are we not going to be doing it first? Is kind of their attitude towards it.
Right.
And they did it first, and they're doing it at the highest level. So it's exciting. It'll be interesting to see how it all, you know, all the changes it makes. I can't imagine it'll be too many.
Right.
But it is exciting. It's pretty cool.
Our ladies are so good right now.
Yeah.
If you watch like Sarah Hildebrand or any of those girls, they're so tough.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch. So I just wonder if like down the road it'll be like a dual meet. All right, 125 guy, 125 girl. Like if they're gonna do them together, or if
maybe.
You thought
that was the first I ever heard of it. It would make sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how UWW does it.
Yeah.
Alternate them. Well, Dan Dennis, really glad you could take some time for us,
problem,
my man. The only other question we have from an Inner Circle member, they know you're a well-read man. Any book recommendations or anything you're loving lately?
I always mess up the title. It's either Becoming Superman or The Rise of Superman. It's like exploring mainly Red Bull sports, like high adrenaline sports, and the psychology behind it. And that's a really interesting book, really good book. And then Stealing Fires co-written by the same author. Similar, but a little further out there, but pieces of it you can take and, you know, put into work in your life, I think.
What was the first one?
Either Becoming Superman or The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kother.
Does the Dawn Wall still take the cake on documentaries?
That Dawn Wall's awesome.
I've watched it like 4 or 5 times.
It's an awesome one. You know what I didn't like? Hearing about it, and then I actually watched it. Free Solo. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
I freaking love that guy. And
Arnold is insane.
Insane.
You don't like Free Solo?
I didn't give it a fair chance because when I used to climb quite a bit.
Right.
And
in Moab, right?
Oh yeah. I spent a bunch of time there. But all over. But I remember free soloing, that's the dumbest thing I've ever. Why would you climb without a rope? And I was really closed-minded to it. And then actually watching it and seeing, you know, obviously it's a movie, but seeing the commitment and the dedication and the seriousness that guy had, he's top level one. I mean, freak athlete. I actually really, really liked that movie, and I didn't like hearing about it until I watched it. Kind of one of those.
For the layperson, how insane is the free solo versus the regular climbing? Is it just another level?
It doesn't even make sense in my head.
Really?
It doesn't compute. I mean, I would never push my climbing ability without a rope. And he did it at a crazy high level. I mean, that's life or death there.
I still think the Don Wall, like what that guy went through. The first part of the story when he got kidnapped,
awesome.
How is that not a documentary
in its
itself?
own?
Right, just a separate prelude. But the guy did it with or like a nub
Yeah.
of a finger.
Freaking cut his finger off.
And then his buddy couldn't get that pass, and he's waiting up there on the ledge.
He went back. So when I was living in California, actually, the guy who climbed it with him, he worked at the climbing gym that I used to go to all the time. He wouldn't recognize me, and I don't know him well at all. But I remember when they just finished, they had a big viewing at the climbing wall, and it's pretty cool being around it.
Yeah. What do you think? This is the last sign off, between the two accomplishments, the free solo or the down wall? They're so different.
They are.
So different in time. One's like days and weeks, other one's a couple hours.
Days and weeks. Talk about years. How long did it take him to do that? It was like 7 years, right?
But like on the ledge,
yeah.
Like
Living up there.
He doesn't go down off the, what's it called?
A portaledge?
Portaledge,
yeah.
I mean, what do you look at those two accomplishments?
I think they're both insane. They're both insane. Completely different, but both insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't even go one way or another.
Alex Honnold, the Spencer Lee of climbing, level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Love it, man. I've heard him on Joe Rogan a couple of times, and it's like I just like that whole climbing world. I knew you were into it, so I had to pick your brain about it a little bit. Because the dawn wall to me might be crazier.
I mean, it might be. Yeah. They're both insane.
Both crazy. Well, Dan Dennis, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Man.
I appreciate
it.
It has. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for listening to this episode of Wrestling Changed My Life. This episode was presented by QUANT Wrestling. QUANT provides detailed analytics on the great sport of wrestling. Download the QUANT app now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. The first 2 weeks are free, but if you use the discount code WCML, you'll get an additional 2 weeks free. That's QUANT, QUANT, available in both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. QUANT Wrestling, a proud sponsor of Wrestling Changed My Life.